The Power of Not Reacting is a book about reclaiming control in a world that constantly tries to provoke you. In modern American life, people are surrounded by noise, opinions, criticism, pressure, social media outrage, and emotional triggers. Most people react automatically. They respond before thinking, speak before understanding, and act before calming their emotions. This book challenges that pattern. It teaches that your greatest strength is not your ability to respond quickly, but your ability to pause. Not reacting does not mean weakness. It means mastery. The book explains that when you react emotionally, you hand over control of your mind to someone else. When you choose not to react, you keep your power. This simple shift changes relationships, careers, mental health, and self-respect. The book frames non-reaction as a strategic skill, one that separates emotionally mature individuals from impulsive ones. In a society where outrage spreads faster than wisdom, the ability to stay calm becomes a competitive advantage point. One of the most eye-opening ideas in The Power of Not Reacting is that emotional reactions are a form of slavery. The book explains that when someone can control your emotions, they control you. Anger, jealousy, insecurity, and fear become invisible chains. In American culture, where people are encouraged to speak their truth instantly, reacting is often mistaken for authenticity. But the book exposes the cost of this habit. Every unnecessary reaction drains energy, damages clarity, and weakens self-control. The book teaches that reacting feels natural but creates long-term consequences: regret, damaged relationships, lost opportunities. When you don't react, you gain time. Time creates perspective. Perspective creates better decisions. This is how emotional intelligence is built. The book emphasizes that freedom begins when you stop letting external events dictate your internal state. Silence plays a powerful role in the power of not reacting. The book explains that silence is not avoidance, it is emotional strength. In difficult moments, silence allows emotions to settle before action is taken. In the United States, silence is often misunderstood as weakness or lack of confidence. This book reframes it completely. Silence becomes a tool of control, clarity, and confidence. When you don't react immediately, you observe. When you observe, you understand. And when you understand, you respond with intention rather than impulse. The book teaches that silence protects your dignity. It prevents you from saying things you cannot take back. Over time, people who master silence are respected, not ignored. Their words carry weight because they are not wasted. Silence, according to the book, is the foundation of emotional authority. The Power of Not Reacting explains that emotional triggers are deeply personal and often rooted in past experiences, insecurities, or unmet expectations. These triggers are like invisible buttons that, when pressed, cause instant emotional responses. In everyday American life, at work, in relationships, online, these buttons are constantly being pushed. The book teaches that most people don't recognize their triggers, they just feel the reaction. Anger flares, defensiveness rises, and clarity disappears. The moment you react, logic shuts down. The book emphasizes that awareness is the first step toward freedom. When you identify your triggers, you create space between the event and your response. That space is where power lives. Instead of being controlled by emotions, you begin to manage them. Over time, triggers lose their intensity because you stop feeding them with reaction. The book encourages readers to study themselves rather than blame others. When you understand what triggers you, you stop being a victim of it. A core lesson of The Power of Not Reacting is the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is emotional, fast, and often unconscious. Responding is thoughtful, slow, and intentional. In American culture, quick reactions are often praised as confidence or strength, but the book challenges this belief. It explains that reacting is usually driven by ego or fear. Responding, on the other hand, is driven by clarity and self-control. When you respond instead of react, you choose your words carefully. You consider consequences. You stay aligned with your values. The book teaches that this shift changes everything, from personal relationships to professional environments. A calm response often disarms conflict and commands respect. Over time, responding becomes a habit, and reacting loses its grip. This is emotional maturity in action. Conflict is inevitable, but the power of not reacting teaches that chaos is optional. The book explains that most conflicts escalate because emotions take over. When one person reacts, the other reacts harder. This cycle continues until damage is done. The book offers a different approach: stay calm, stay present, and stay silent when necessary. In American workplaces and relationships, this skill is invaluable. Calmness creates control. It allows you to listen instead of defend. The book teaches that calm people dominate emotional situations without raising their voice. They don't need to prove anything. Their calmness becomes authority. By not reacting, you break the cycle of conflict. You choose peace over pride. And in doing so, you protect your energy and your reputation. One of the strongest messages in the power of not reacting is that ego fuels most emotional reactions. The book explains that ego wants to be right, respected, and validated at all times. When ego feels threatened, it reacts instantly, through anger, sarcasm, defensiveness, or withdrawal. In American culture, where self-expression is often encouraged without limits, ego-driven reactions are common and socially accepted. However, the book reveals the hidden cost. Ego reactions damage relationships, cloud judgment, and weaken leadership. When you choose not to react, you weaken ego's grip. You stop taking everything personally. You realize that not every comment deserves a response. This realization is freeing. The book teaches that emotional control is not about suppressing feelings, but about not letting ego make decisions for you. Over time, as ego quiets down, clarity and confidence rise. Relationships are one of the biggest testing grounds for emotional control. The power of not reacting explains that many relationships fail not because of lack of love, but because of uncontrolled reactions. Small misunderstandings turn into major conflicts when emotions lead to conversation. The book teaches that not reacting creates emotional safety. When one person stays calm, the other feels less threatened. In American family life and romantic relationships, this skill can transform communication. The book encourages pausing before responding, especially in emotionally charged moments. Silence, when used intentionally, prevents regret. Over time, not reacting builds trust. People feel heard, not attacked. The book emphasizes that emotional maturity strengthens love. When you stop reacting, you start understanding. And understanding deepens connection. Mental strength is not loud or aggressive, it is quiet and controlled. The power of not reacting defines mental toughness as the ability to remain calm under pressure. In American society, where stress levels are high and expectations are constant, this skill is essential. The book teaches that every time you resist an unnecessary reaction, you strengthen your mind. Self-control becomes a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Over time, situations that once triggered intense emotions begin to feel manageable. The book explains that mental strength is not about avoiding emotions, but about choosing how to express them. This level of control creates confidence, resilience, and clarity. When your mind is calm, your decisions improve. And better decisions lead to better outcomes. The power of not reacting takes a deep look at how social media has become one of the biggest emotional trap systems in modern life. In the United States, social platforms are designed to provoke reactions, likes, comments, outrage, validation, and comparison. The book explains that most online arguments are not about truth, but about emotional control. When you react online, you give away your attention, time, and peace. The book teaches that not every post deserves a response and not every opinion deserves your energy. By not reacting, you protect your mental health. You stop comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. The book encourages intentional digital discipline, choosing when to engage and when to stay silent. This creates clarity, confidence, and emotional independence in a hyperconnected world. Leadership is deeply connected to emotional control, and the power of not reacting explains why great leaders remain calm under pressure. In American workplaces, leaders are constantly tested by deadlines, criticism, conflict, and uncertainty. The book teaches that leaders who react emotionally lose credibility. Those who pause, listen, and respond thoughtfully gain respect. Not reacting does not mean avoiding action, it means choosing the right action. Calm leaders create stable environments. Their presence reduces chaos. The book explains that emotional control allows leaders to see the bigger picture instead of getting lost in momentary stress. Over time, people trust leaders who don't panic. Not reacting becomes a silent signal of strength, maturity, and authority. One of the most rewarding outcomes of practicing non-reaction is inner peace. The power of not reacting explains that peace is not found by controlling the world, but by controlling your response to it. In a noisy, fast-paced American lifestyle filled with deadlines, expectations, and constant stimulation, inner peace feels rare. The book teaches that when you stop reacting to everything, your nervous system calms down. Your mind becomes clearer. You stop carrying emotional baggage from unnecessary conflicts. Inner peace is not passive, it is intentional. It is the result of choosing calm over chaos again and again. The book emphasizes that this peace improves health, focus, and overall quality of life. The power of not reacting makes a clear distinction between emotional detachment and indifference. The book explains that detachment does not mean you stop caring, it means you stop letting emotions control your actions. In American culture, emotional expression is often encouraged, but this book teaches balance. You can care deeply without reacting impulsively. Emotional detachment allows you to stay grounded while still being compassionate. It gives you the ability to observe situations objectively. The book emphasizes that detachment creates freedom. You are no longer emotionally pulled into every problem, argument, or drama. This doesn't weaken relationships, it strengthens them. People feel safer around someone who is calm and stable. Detachment allows you to act from wisdom instead of emotion. Criticism is unavoidable, especially in public and professional life. The power of not reacting teaches that how you handle criticism determines your emotional strength. Most people react defensively or emotionally, which often validates the critic's power. The book offers a different approach: pause, assess, and choose. In American work culture, where feedback is frequent and sometimes harsh, this skill is essential. Not all criticism is true, and not all of it deserves a response. The book encourages separating facts from emotions. When criticism is valid, calm reflection leads to growth. When it is not, silence protects your dignity. Not reacting to criticism shows confidence and self-respect. Over time, it builds emotional authority. Energy is one of your most valuable resources, and the power of not reacting teaches how emotional reactions drain it. Every unnecessary argument, every emotional response to negativity, and every moment of stress takes energy away from meaningful work and joy. In the fast-paced American lifestyle, energy management is critical. The book explains that not reacting is a form of self-care. When you choose not to engage emotionally, you conserve mental and emotional energy. This energy can then be invested in growth, creativity, and relationships that matter. Protecting your energy allows you to show up fully where it truly counts. The power of not reacting explains that pressure does not create character, it reveals it. When situations become intense, most people fall back on habits, and for many, that habit is emotional reaction. The book teaches that calm responses under pressure are not accidental, they are trained. In American professional and personal life, pressure is constant: deadlines, expectations, financial stress, and competition. The book emphasizes that staying calm in these moments gives you a massive advantage. When others panic, you think. When others react emotionally, you see options. Calmness slows time. It allows you to choose words carefully and act strategically. The book explains that people who master this skill often rise into leadership naturally because they become reliable in chaos. Responding calmly under pressure builds trust, credibility, and confidence. Over time, pressure stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a stage where your discipline shines. A powerful insight in the power of not reacting is the realization that many emotional reactions come from the need to control outcomes, people, or opinions. The book teaches that this need is exhausting and unrealistic. In American culture, control is often associated with success, but the book reframes the idea completely. True control comes from self-control, not external control. When you stop reacting, you accept that you cannot manage everything, and that you don't need to. This acceptance brings peace. The book explains that letting go does not mean giving up, it means trusting yourself to handle whatever comes next. When you stop reacting to things you cannot change, your energy returns to what you can change: your actions, choices, and mindset. This shift reduces anxiety and increases emotional stability. Freedom begins when control ends. The power of not reacting makes it clear that emotional control is not a one-time achievement, it is a daily practice. Just like physical fitness, emotional discipline must be trained consistently. The book encourages small, intentional habits: pausing before speaking, breathing before responding, observing before reacting. In busy American lifestyles, these small practices create powerful change. The book explains that emotional discipline compounds over time. Each moment you choose calm over reaction strengthens your mind. Slowly, your default state becomes steadiness instead of volatility. Emotional discipline improves relationships, decision-making, health, and confidence. The book emphasizes that mastery is quiet. No one applauds self-control in the moment, but its rewards are life-changing. This daily practice builds a calm, resilient inner world that no external chaos can easily disturb. The power of not reacting teaches that silence is often more powerful than words. In situations where emotions run high, choosing not to react transforms you from a participant into a master observer. The book explains that silence creates space. It allows your mind to evaluate, your instincts to calm, and your decisions to become intentional. In American workplaces, social environments, and even online interactions, silence can act as a shield against unnecessary conflict. People often underestimate the impact of someone who stays calm while chaos surrounds them. Over time, silence becomes authority. It signals wisdom, self-control, and confidence. By not reacting, you influence others subtly yet strongly. The book emphasizes that public recognition is less important than the internal mastery achieved through quiet restraint. Silence is not passive, it is strategic, protective, and transformational. The final lesson of the power of not reacting is that a life of intentional non-reaction leads to freedom, strength, and clarity. The book teaches that when you stop giving away your emotional energy, you reclaim your time, focus, and peace. In the United States, where distractions, opinions, and pressures are everywhere, mastering your reactions allows you to live on your terms. This lifestyle requires practice, patience, and awareness, but its benefits are profound. Relationships improve, work becomes more productive, stress diminishes, and mental clarity expands. Public interactions no longer dictate your emotional state, your inner stability does. The book concludes by reminding readers that not reacting is not avoidance, it is mastery. It is choosing intentionality over impulse, thoughtfulness over chaos, and peace over unnecessary conflict. A reaction-free life is not just about staying calm, it is about creating a life where your energy, focus, and decisions align with your values, leading to lasting success and fulfillment. The power of not reacting explains that instant reactions often come with hidden costs. In modern American life, reacting immediately can feel like courage or decisiveness, but it frequently leads to regret. Quick responses can escalate conflicts, harm reputations, or strain relationships. The book emphasizes that emotional impulses bypass rational thinking. Every time you react without pause, you sacrifice clarity for immediacy. Over time, these small decisions compound into larger consequences. By choosing not to react, you prevent unnecessary damage and maintain control over outcomes. Observation is a key skill taught in the book. Before responding or reacting, observe the situation fully. Notice the facts, the emotions involved, and the intentions behind others' words. In American workplaces and social interactions, observation is often undervalued. The power of not reacting argues that those who observe first gain a strategic advantage. They make informed decisions, respond thoughtfully, and conserve emotional energy. Observation transforms reactive habits into intentional actions. Emotional awareness is a recurring theme in the book. Recognizing your own emotional state before reacting is essential. The book explains that understanding why you feel anger, frustration, or fear allows you to manage it effectively. In fast-paced American lifestyles, people are often disconnected from their emotions, reacting before realizing what triggered them. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. By identifying emotional triggers, you gain control over how you respond. The book highlights practical strategies for handling provocation. Whether it's criticism at work, social media negativity, or personal disputes, the power of not reacting teaches grace under fire. Instead of engaging in arguments or defensive behavior, pause. Assess the situation. Respond only when necessary. This approach not only diffuses tension but demonstrates emotional maturity. In American corporate and personal culture, grace under provocation earns respect, strengthens relationships, and enhances credibility. Breathing is a surprisingly powerful tool recommended in the book. Simple techniques, like slow, deep breaths, help regulate the nervous system. When emotions spike, breathing helps reset perspective and prevent knee-jerk reactions. In the USA, where stress and high-pressure environments are common, these techniques are practical and effective. The book emphasizes integrating mindful breathing into daily routines as a foundation for consistent emotional discipline. The power of not reacting draws examples from leaders, entrepreneurs, and public figures who excel because they control their reactions. From CEOs to athletes, those who pause, analyze, and respond strategically outperform those driven by emotion. The book highlights stories showing that patience and composure in high-stakes moments create long-term advantages. These examples resonate with a USA audience familiar with competitive environments, showcasing that control is a marker of success. Not reacting doesn't mean ignoring criticism. It means transforming it into insight. The book teaches that criticism is data, not a personal attack. By pausing and analyzing feedback objectively, you extract lessons while maintaining emotional stability. In American work culture, where performance reviews and public feedback are common, this approach empowers individuals to grow without becoming defensive or reactive. Patience is highlighted as a silent source of power in the book. Those who master patience gain perspective, reduce stress, and make better decisions. In fast-paced American life, where instant gratification is expected, patience is a competitive advantage. The power of not reacting explains that consistent practice of patience transforms personal and professional outcomes, turning restraint into a visible form of authority. Freedom, according to the book, is a result of emotional self-mastery. By choosing not to react unnecessarily, you free yourself from being a slave to external events. This freedom improves focus, mental clarity, and decision-making. In USA culture, where stress and external pressures dominate, non-reaction becomes a tool for personal liberation. Emotional freedom allows individuals to pursue goals without distraction from drama or conflict. Finally, the book emphasizes that consistent practice of non-reaction compounds over time. Each moment you choose calm over impulse strengthens your mental resilience, builds trust in yourself, and improves your interactions. The book encourages integrating small, daily exercises in mindfulness, observation, and deliberate response. Over months and years, these habits result in profound personal transformation. In American society, where emotional volatility is common, consistent practice of non-reaction produces extraordinary advantages.